Good afternoon, guys. How's everyone doing? It's wet old Saturday afternoon. Hope you're all doing well, as usual. Hope you're in the best of health, being the best version of yourself you could possibly be. Because as I always say, respect don't cost a penny. It's free. And I have plenty of respect in abundance. I have morals, a lot of solidarity, a lot of respect, everything I've got. And all them things which I've learnt to gain over the years, is for free. And I mean for free. That's why you don't ever see me slandering people, ever talking ill health of people. And what you see is what you get with me. 100% genuine articles, genuine content. Nothing is fabricated. No stories are made up. Nothing is exaggerated. It's just how you see it is how you get it, straight from me. So that brings me on to a little story what I want to tell you about the good old days. It's just to say the good old days. Working with my cousins. I was with Paul Gilmartin. Big shout out to Paul and Luke. I was with Luke Gilmartin and Kevin Gilmartin and a few other labourers. So basically, this is about maybe 20 years ago. But it's a story which will never ever leave me. I had a Transit, a tipper, a long wheelbase truck with an alley drop side body on it, like I've mostly always had all of my life, because I've always done bits and pieces where it requires a truck or a van. This morning we was driving to London. Now we're completely and utterly fully loaded with all the roofing gear. Tiles, felt, even lead, everything what it took, battens, everything what it took to lay this new roof. We had all the roof stripped off, so we had a tarpaulin over it. We was travelling up 65, 70 miles from Littlehampton going to London, and it was quite a big house, a semi-detached house we was working on. Anyway, me forgetting things, not good with paperwork, memory a little bit, can't be that shot because I've obviously know these stories still, but these stories are funny. So picked all my cousins up, picked my family up, they had their van driving behind me. So we got all the way down to Mitcham from Littlehampton, and that's probably around 60 mile. And all of a sudden I went into a one-way system at Abbey Mills, for anyone that's familiar with that. It's in Merton or Malden, just outside London, Surrey-ish, but some states in southwest London. Driving along this one-way system, all of a sudden I've seen a load of police cars, men in white caps. So the coppers had their white caps on with the little black peaks at the front, always facing down. Funny old fuckers. But they was ministry. They work for the ministry, and they are the policemen or coppers or whatever you want to call them, will absolutely rip your vehicle to pieces. They mainly work in class 7 or commercial, but they do pull vans up, they do pull trucks up, they do pull cars up. This morning they've pulled me up. Don't forget, I'm fully loaded. Now, bit of a tyre kicker, one of them, a bit of a job's worth. He kept walking around the truck, kicking the tyres, making sure all the lights work, the indicators, the wipers, all the usual crap. He even laid on the floor and got underneath the truck to make sure the chassis was not rotten on it. So, what they found was 2 bald tyres. And that was a twin axle truck. So it had 4 wheels on the back and 2 wheels on the front. And it come under class 7. You couldn't go and get it MOT'd in a normal car MOT station, You had to go to the ministry or a lane where they'd done class 7 MOTs. Anyway, bearing in mind, the truck still had a little bit of MOT left on it. Probably, I don't know, a week or so. Or might have been just a bit under. And the following week, I would have been getting it ready for its MOT anyway. But I totally did slipped my mind. I forgot all about it. And it had 2 bald tyres. So he started writing a ticket out, and the ticket was called a GV9. I could not believe it. I asked him what that was, and he said to me, you can't get it towed on a piece of rope or bond or anything of the kind. You've got to get it picked up off the ground, put onto a low loader and drove to an MOT station. I said, what do you mean, MOT station? It's still got an MOT on it. He said, I am putting a prohibition order straight on your vehicle. It's not roadworthy and it's got to be taken straight off of the road. And that's what they'd done. I had all my work gear on the back of it. We had the day's work ahead of us, a few days ahead of us. And yeah, they run through for one of their lorries, what they use, the old bill, and they snatched my truck. They put it into a compound, and it was so much aggravation to get it out of that compound. What I had to do to get that out of the compound was on another level. As I said, they wouldn't allow it to be rolled even on the road. So when I paid the fees to get it out of the compound, which was an arm and a leg, by the way, because it was in there for a few days, it's probably about £125 a day, you know. When I paid them fees, they said to me, is it being picked up? And I said, yes. I said, my brother-in-law, or one of my, I don't know who was working with me at that time, but we all had trucks in our family. I said, one of my brother-in-laws is coming to pick it up, and it's going onto the back of a truck. And my brother-in-law turned up, yeah. I couldn't believe it. Showed all the old bill, the documents, the proof that it was his truck, and you know, he had all the insurance to cover him from his vehicle being on the back of his truck. And the old bill come out the front, looked at the vehicle and said, no, sorry. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. It wasn't actually my brother-in-law, it was one of my cousins who had to break down truck, a recovery truck. My cousin said, why is it not allowed to, you know, to be taken to an MOT station? Because that's the only way you can get it put on the road. You've got to take it straight to an MOT station, you know, and then you've got to go back to the police station, produce the MOT, and then they then take the prohibition order off of it to put it back on the road. The trouble I was having was it was an old Harvey Frost crane. So do you remember the Harvey Frost cranes? You used to wind them up, and it had a thing called a spreader bar, a metal bar with chains on the front of it, which went near your number plate. It got wound up, and the old bill come out from the police station and said, no, sorry, you can't take it that way. I couldn't believe it. It cost me an absolute fortune. I had to get a car trailer, an Arthur Williams, when my cousin did, we had to pay for an Arthur Williams car trailer, which would have been rented out of a shop. They're not cheap neither. Then we had to put a massive deposit down for that. Then we had to take the trailer to the police station, let the copper know, the dirty Jobsworth copper know that it was being lifted onto a trailer, and it was only then would they release it. They then said to me, once you've had the MOT, it had to be re-MOT'd. They would not allow it back on the road without a new MOT. That's the GV9 prohibition order. He said, once that's been done, bring it back to the station and we can check it. And I said, hold on a minute. If it's just been MOT'd, you're not an MOT inspector. Why would you want to check it? And he said, it's protocol. You've got to bring the vehicle back to us. We've got to give it a green light before it can go back on the road. So to be honest with you, it cost me, I don't know, probably a week's work, a lot of aggravation, a lot of stress, but eventually I did get it all sorted out. Had a new MOT put on it and had it put back on the road. But yeah, man, the joys of driving. Whatever you're doing, stay safe and have a great day. I'll be back at you in a bit. Peace.